All right, students, it's time to talk about Castle Rock. What a chapter, huh? Now, please only watch this if you've watched the chapter because some pretty crazy stuff happens. At the beginning of the chapter, some things that I noticed. First, very few people come to the meeting, only Sam and Eric, Piggy, Ralph, and a few little ones. So the law and order has become very, very small, and so many people have left this camp, this tribe of law and order. Secondly, in this meeting, they blame it all on Jack. It's all Jack Merridew's fault. It's an issue with Jack. It's not an issue of the human heart. It's not an issue of fear, the beast. To them, it's all Jack's fault. And is that really true? Or is there more to it? So that's just a question that I have. Piggy is determined in this chapter on 171. He has this talk. He's kind of revving himself up since he can't see and he's kind of desperate. And he says that Simon's death is murder. He uses the word murder now. Why is he comfortable using the word murder when he couldn't say the word in the previous chapter? Probably because now he's comfortable just blaming everything on Jack. And it's Jack's murder, Jack's fault. So, and then on 171, when he's talking about what he's going to say to Jack, he says this: I'll say, not because you're strong, but because what's right's right. Give me my glasses, I'm going to say. You got to. We have a moral imperative that Piggy plans to use with Jack, meaning that you have an imperative, you have a duty as a human being to do what is right. That means that there's right and that there is wrong, and that there's a universal right and wrong. It's not just dependent on who is in power. And so that's what Piggy thinks, at least in this desperate state. Is that going to work with Jack? No, we see later on when Ralph tells him, you got to. He says, got to? Who says I've got to? Says who? So he's saying, well, what authority do you have? What authority does anyone have to tell me what I have to do? Whoever has the power gets to make the rules. On 172 at the bottom, then, we have a quote about this paint liberating the boys. And this is Sam and Eric thinking about it. And it says, the others nodded. They understood only too well the liberation into savagery that the concealing paint brought. So there's something about the paint that liberates Jack and the rest of the boys into these savage instincts or these savage desires that they have. Why is that? That's a good question. Then we have at the bottom of 175, after they go to Castle Rock, which is what this jutting island is called, Roger, it says, has a power that's starting to surge in his body. It says some source of power began to pulse in Roger's body. Roger is realizing that without authority, without the authority of the grown-up world, now he can kind of have power to do what he wants to do, even if those things are not right in the adult society. Jack and Ralph then argue about who should be in charge of the island, who's chief, and they are fighting here with their spears, but not fighting to kill. They're fighting for power, but not in order to kill. And that's going to change in this chapter, which I believe is possibly the climax of the entire book. And that happens on 179. When Ralph says, you're a thief. I'm sorry, I got to find it here. You're a beast and a swine and a bloody, bloody thief. He charged Jack, knowing this was the crisis, charged too. Remember, a climax is the biggest crisis in the book, and this is the crisis, and they're going to fight to kill now. Okay, now we're not in the fight for power. We're in the fight to hurt, to kill. And interesting that Ralph calls him a beast and a swine and a bloody, bloody thief. Now, bloody is a cuss word in Great Britain. So if you're in Britain watching this, yes, I'm cussing. But in America, we don't do that. We don't see it as a cuss word. So beast, interesting that he uses that word for Jack, obviously, since the beast has been that thing, right, that everybody fears. Calls him a swine, which is a pig. Okay, there's been all this pig motif going throughout the whole book. And then we have bloody, bloody thief. Blood is a motif that has gone through the book. It's this image that keeps coming up again and again and again. Why? Good question. Piggy's options then come to the fore on page 180 when he says to the boys during a break in their battle, which is better, to have rules and agree or to hunt and kill? And then you hear the zip of a rock being thrown by Roger, and Roger now is throwing to hurt, not throwing to miss anymore. Which is better, law and rescue or hunting and breaking things up? We have a dualism here that's presented by Piggy. He's saying, look, we have two natures or two parts of our nature. We have two options here. You can either have law and order, or you can have savagery and breaking things up or hunting. Is this what Golding is trying to get to us in writing this book? That we have in us this propensity toward savagery, toward fear, toward power, but we also have the option of having law and order in society. And so Piggy presents that to us. And what happens? Immediately, Roger pulls on that lever. The rock tumbles down, hits Piggy, and he falls to his death. And it says pink stuff comes out. And it says that the imagery of him dying is like a pig. It says that he twitches like a pig. And obviously there is this pig imagery that's gone throughout, a pig motif, and it's all surrounding this character of Piggy. What's going on with that? Good question to ask. Finally, Jack throws to kill when that happens. He says, see, that's what you'll get. I mean that there isn't a tribe for you anymore. The conch is gone. And yes, the conch is the representation of law and order. It's shattered into a million white fragments. Piggy's gone. Reason's gone. Order's gone. Justice is gone. What's right is right. That idea is gone. Now it's just, I'm chief. He is now the law. He is the power. He is the order. And he throws to kill at that point. He throws that spear to kill Ralph, who is the last remnant of any kind of law, order, rescue, goodness. Thankfully, it doesn't kill him. Ralph runs into the forest. They go back to the fort, and it's not over yet. What's going to happen next chapter? What are they going to do? We shall see. So what's the purpose of this chapter? Well, first, obviously, the total descent into savagery. Now, Jack is totally corrupt, and so is his society, totally savage, and now they rule. And whoever has the most power rules now. Piggy's death is obviously important here, so that's a purpose. And then finally, Roger's emergence. Now, there's something about Roger that he premeditated the death of Piggy. He pulls on that lever with reckless or delirious abandonment, it says. There's this power surging through him, and he is starting to feel the sense of, if there's no authority, I can do whatever the heck I want to do. And he enjoys it. Finally, some questions to consider. First, why all of this pig imagery and symbolism? Think about that. What does the pig represent? Think about what a pig is, what a pig does, how a pig is viewed. Things like that. Why do they choose to steal? This is important because stealing is breaking any sense of real law in any society. Stealing is never okay in any society, and people who do steal, they just try to cover it up. They never are saying, hey, yeah, it's just okay to go steal. Nowhere is that actually deemed as okay. Now, people get away with it through systems and stuff, but stealing in itself is never right. And then finally, why does the paint liberate them? Why does that happen? So these are some questions I have. There's obviously many more. I hope you enjoy reading the last chapter. It's very intense, I will warn you. And you could argue that the climax comes in this chapter. But I think it's more of the resolution. And so we'll talk about that next time. Happy reading!